My name is Madison Hayes and I'm 32 years old. What transpired at my sister's wedding continues to generate buzz in our business circles. Imagine this: 200 attendees in an elegant ballroom. My mother's palms striking my face with such force that my diamond earring went flying across the marble flooring. The cause? I declined to surrender the keys to my $2 million penthouse right there during the reception toasts. But here's what no one anticipated. When the CEO of one of the city's most prominent investment companies walked through those ballroom entrance doors an hour afterward, my mother's shriek could be detected 3 levels above. The gentleman who arrived wasn't simply any CEO. He managed 40% of my father's corporation. And he had something quite particular to express about what he had just observed on a live stream. Before we delve into this narrative, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly appreciate stories about maintaining your position. Where are you viewing from? Share your location and current time in the comments section. Let me transport you back to that morning when I believed I was simply attending my younger sister's flawless wedding. I showed up at the Grand View Hotel at 8 a.m., 3 hours prior to the ceremony. The ballroom appeared magnificent, white roses and golden touches throughout, precisely what Sophia had envisioned since we were children. I'd donated $50,000 to make this occasion perfect for her, though nobody would ever acknowledge that. Madison, at last, my mother remarked, scanning me from head to toe. That dress, couldn't you have selected something more womanly? You appear as though you're going to a board meeting, not your sister's wedding. I smoothed down my navy silk garment. Refined, suitable, and yes, likely something I'd wear to the workplace. Good morning to you as well, Mom. Sophia appears absolutely stunning in her gown, she went on, not even recognizing my salutation. A true bride. You should witness how she radiates. The contrast wasn't novel. For 32 years, I'd been the daughter who was overly driven, overly self-reliant, overly unfeminine in my preferences. Sophia was the royalty. Gentle, conventional, everything our parents desired in a daughter. Madison, can you verify the seating plans? Dad shouted. But don't rearrange everything like you habitually do. I held my tongue. The seating diagram was a catastrophe with separated couples positioned together and business adversaries at the identical table. But highlighting that out would simply make me the troublesome one once more. What they didn't realize, what I'd never disclosed to them, was that I wasn't merely some middle manager at a random organization. I was vice president of development at Hayes Capital, managing our complete Asia-Pacific growth. But in this household, that accomplishment would somehow transform into another shortcoming. Too profession-oriented, too self-sufficient, too much resembling the son they never conceived. Of course, Dad, I stated, maintaining my voice calm. I'll guarantee everything's flawless for Sophia. Family comes foremost, Madison, Dad remarked, materializing beside me as I corrected a tilted centerpiece. You'll comprehend that when you have your own household, if you ever establish yourself, that is. The comment was understated but transparent. At 32, my unwed condition was evidently a greater disappointment than any career achievement could compensate for. Richard, let her be, Aunt Patricia interjected, though her inflection suggested entertainment rather than protection. Not everybody can be as fortunate as Sophia discovering genuine love so early. I concentrated on the centerpiece, allowing their remarks to flow over me. Around us, family members murmured their own evaluations. Still no jewelry on Madison's finger. All that duration in the city, you'd assume she'd have encountered someone. Poor Carol. At minimum, she has Sophia providing her grandchildren shortly. My cousin Derek grinned from across the space. Hey Madison, perhaps if you invested less time in conference rooms and more time in regular rooms, you'd have a companion today. The amusement rippled through our relatives. I desired to inform them about the 3 gentlemen I dated this year who couldn't manage dating someone more accomplished than them. I desired to mention that being unattached was a selection, not a failure. But what was the purpose? She's just very selective, Mom clarified to anyone paying attention, always has been too choosy for her own benefit. I straightened another centerpiece, my hands unwavering despite the recognizable sting of their rejection. They had no notion who I genuinely was, and perhaps that was for the better. So, Madison, Aunt Sally chirped during the pre-ceremony socializing. How's that little flat of yours in the city? Must be comfortable. It's a penthouse, in fact, I corrected softly. The cluster around us erupted into laughter. Sally wiped moisture from her eyes. A penthouse? Oh, Madison, you and your grand city aspirations. He enjoys exaggerating. Sophia contributed, floating over in her wedding attire. Last year she claimed she was purchasing a Tesla. Can you picture that? I did purchase a Tesla. It was stationed outside, but I simply grinned. Madison's always been driven, Mom stated in that inflection that made drive sound like a personality defect. Too driven, truly. There's nothing incorrect with a humble apartment, Uncle Tom added condescendingly. Not everybody can manage luxury. No embarrassment in that, kiddo. My phone vibrated with a notification from my building's attendant about tomorrow's shipment to my 4,500 square foot penthouse on the 45th level. The one with floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the complete city. The one I'd purchased in cash after finalizing the Singapore arrangement. I could have displayed them the photographs, could have accessed the virtual walkthrough I had preserved. Could have referenced the feature in Architectural Digest last month. But what would that demonstrate? That I required their approval. You're correct, Uncle Tom, I responded instead. There's no embarrassment in residing within your capabilities. Sophia laughed, that musical sound she'd mastered. See, Madison's learning to be more sensible. Finally, the irony was almost poetic. Standing isolated by the window, I observed the city horizon where my penthouse towered above everything else. 10 years. That's the duration it had consumed to construct my profession from entry-level analyst to VP. 10 years of 80-hour weeks, overnight flights, and transactions that generated headlines in the Financial Times. That penthouse wasn't simply real estate. It was evidence. Evidence that the girl they dismissed had succeeded. Evidence that I didn't require their approval or their finances or their associations. Every square foot was purchased with my own achievement. If I surrendered it to Sophia, just handed over the keys like some celebration gift, what would that render me? The constant backup option, the family cash machine who existed solely to supplement their golden child's contentment. I reflected on the nights I'd collapsed asleep at my workstation working on pitches that would ultimately generate millions for the organization. The advancements I'd earned while they were organizing Sophia's engagement celebrations, the regard I commanded in boardrooms across 3 continents. None of that mattered here. To them I was just Madison. Too unfeminine, too profession-focused, too challenging. And if I conceded now, if I relinquished the one possession that represented my autonomy, I'd be validating everything they believed about my position in this household. My phone display illuminated with a photograph from my assistant, the perspective from my penthouse this morning. Sun ascending over the city, golden illumination pouring through those enormous windows. She'd included a message. Your refuge awaits your arrival, boss. Refuge. That's precisely what it was. The one location where I wasn't someone's disappointing daughter or eclipsed sister. Where I was simply Madison Hayes, the woman who'd constructed something remarkable entirely on her own. I couldn't surrender that. Not even for family harmony. Our Sophia, I heard Mom informing a cluster of attendees, her voice traveling across the ballroom. She's everything a mother could desire. So elegant, so compassionate. Did you realize she volunteers at the Children's Hospital and now she'll be such a marvelous wife? The attendees cooed suitably. Mom stood there radiating with satisfaction, enumerating Sophia's accomplishments, her teaching qualification, her perfect engagement, her charitable activities. Not once did my name cross her mouth. I'd wired $50,000 to their account 3 months earlier when Dad referenced the wedding was becoming costly. I'd utilized my associations to get Sophia's wedding highlighted in the city's most distinguished bridal publication. I'd even secured their honeymoon suite enhancement through my hotel rewards. Invisible. That's what I was. The family phantom who materialized only when they required something. Such a gorgeous family, someone remarked. You must be so proud of your daughter. Oh, we are, Dad responded, his arm around Mom. Sophia's brought us such joy. Daughter singular, as if they only possessed one. I turned aside, but then I heard it. Dad's voice diminished, but not sufficiently. After the speech, he murmured to Mom, "We'll make the declaration about the penthouse. You're certain Madison will consent?" Mom whispered back. She won't have an option. Not in front of everybody. She's too proud to create a disturbance at her sister's wedding. My blood froze. They'd orchestrated this. It wasn't a spontaneous gesture of kindness. It was an ambush designed to trap me using social obligation and family duty. Besides, Mom added, what does she require a penthouse for? It's not as if she has a household to occupy it. The casual brutality of it knocked the oxygen from my lungs, but it also crystallized something. I wasn't going to participate in their scheme. If you've ever felt invisible in your own household, like your accomplishments don't matter unless they align with someone else's story, type "I see you" in the comments section. I see you, and your achievement matters even if they don't recognize it. What's approaching next is the instant everything transformed when private family interactions exploded into public humiliation. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell for more stories about establishing boundaries and selecting self-respect over family acceptance. Also, let me know where you're viewing from. I love connecting with individuals who comprehend that sometimes the most difficult struggles are with the people who should support us most. The celebration was in full progress when Dad rose up, tapping a champagne flute with a utensil. The orchestra ceased performing. 200 attendees directed their focus toward him. Before we proceed celebrating, he commenced, his voice resonating through the sound system. Carol and I desire to present Sophia and Brian something extraordinary. My stomach plummeted. They were actually executing this. As you all understand, family signifies everything to us, Dad went on, beaming at the assembly. And there's nothing we wouldn't accomplish for our children's contentment. Children's multiple. But his gaze was concentrated on Sophia. That's why we're delighted to declare that Madison has graciously consented to present Sophia her city penthouse as a wedding present. The space burst into applause. Sophia pressed her palms to her torso and feigned astonishment, though the faint smile dancing at her mouth informed me she'd known throughout. Brian wrapped his arm around her, beaming. "Oh my God, Madison," Sophia exclaimed into her own sound system. "Are you genuine?" The penthouse. Every gaze in the space turned to me. I stood immobilized, champagne flute in hand, my thoughts racing. They'd orchestrated this flawlessly, the declaration, Sophia's reaction, the public environment that rendered refusal seem horrific. "Madison, approach here," Dad summoned, gesturing me forward. "Let's have the complete family united for this extraordinary moment." The applause persisted. People were beaming, approving, some even dabbing away moisture at this gorgeous gesture. I observed my boss's spouse at table 12, 3 significant clients at table 8. My complete professional circle scattered throughout the space, all observing me, all anticipating me to beam and perform the generous sibling. This wasn't simply an ambush. It was a deliberate assassination of my independence. I positioned down my champagne flute and rose gradually. The space fell quiet, anticipating. "I'm apologetic, what?" My voice traveled clearly without the sound system. Dad's beam wavered slightly. "Your penthouse, darling. For Sophia and Brian." "This wasn't discussed with me," I stated, maintaining my inflection calm and businesslike. A wave of murmurs crossed the space. Dad's face reddened. "Don't be egotistical on your sister's occasion," he stated, still grasping the sound system, guaranteeing everyone detected his statements. "Dad, this is unsuitable. We can address this privately." "There's nothing to address." Mom seized the sound system from Dad. "It's a wedding present from the household. It's my asset," I declared plainly. "And I haven't consented to anything." The murmurs intensified. I detected fragments. How could she? On her sister's wedding occasion. So egotistical. Sophia's gaze welled with flawlessly synchronized moisture. "Madison, I believed you'd desire me to be content." "Your contentment doesn't necessitate my residence, Sophia. It's simply a possession," Dad thundered. "You can acquire another one." "Then you acquire her one," I answered. Gasps reverberated through the ballroom. Someone at table 3 literally clutched their jewelry. The wedding photographer maintained shooting, his device clicking swiftly. "Madison, please," Brian intervened, attempting to perform mediator. "We'd take such excellent maintenance of it." "I'm confident you would, but the penthouse is not obtainable." Mom's face had transformed in concerning shade of violet. Dad appeared like he might have a cardiac event, and Sophia's facade of gentleness was fracturing, exposing something more unpleasant underneath. "Come on, Madison," Aunt Sally summoned. "It's household." "You don't even possess a household to occupy it," Uncle Tom contributed. "Sophia requires it more. She's getting wedded, commencing an existence someone else participated. What do you require all that area for?" The tension mounted from every angle. Each remark another boulder added to the barrier they were constructing around me. "Be sensible," my cousin Derek yelled. "Cease being so troublesome." It's not as if you can't manage another location, Aunt Patricia contributed. With your enormous, significant occupation. The mockery in her inflection was evident. They still didn't accept I was accomplished. Even now, they assumed the penthouse was some variety of accident or exaggeration. That's generous of you to presume, I stated, my voice unwavering despite the tempest inside me. But my monetary condition isn't available for public examination. Everything's about finances with you, Mom expelled into the sound system. Your sister's contentment should signify more than possession. If Sophia's contentment depends on seizing what's mine, perhaps we should analyze that. More gasps. Someone at the rear literally booed. The photographer was still shooting, his illumination creating a pulsing effect across the scenario. Through it all, I maintained my palms unwavering at my flanks. No shaking, no moisture. I'd negotiated with CEOs who devoured junior administrators for morning meal. I'd maintained my position in conference rooms where millions were at risk. I wasn't going to collapse now, not in front of individuals who'd minimized my complete existence. The penthouse is not obtainable, I reiterated, each statement clear and conclusive. My phone vibrated persistently in my purse. I extracted it, requiring a moment's interruption from the hostile glares. 3 overlooked communications from MC and a message that made my heartbeat accelerate. Observed the livestream on reserve. Livestream. I surveyed around and located Brian's younger sibling phone positioned on table 6, broadcasting the complete celebration to Facebook Live. The crimson live marker blinked tauntingly. How many individuals were observing this catastrophe develop in actual time? Another message from MC. Your decision. Communicate the word. Marcus Chin, my advisor, my supervisor, and coincidentally, the gentleman who possessed 40% of my father's corporation. Though Dad had no concept his silent associate and his daughter's CEO were the identical individual. We'd maintained that data compartmentalized for precisely this variety of circumstance. Madison positioned the phone aside, Mom snapped. This is household duration. Evidently, it's also public amusement, I stated, acknowledging toward the livestream configuration. Your son-in-law's household is transmitting this to the internet. Brian's sibling rapidly seized his phone, but the harm was executed. Who understood how many individuals had already observed my parents attempting to publicly pressure me into relinquishing my residence? Await my indication, I messaged back to Marcus, then slipped my phone back into my purse. So theatrical, Sophia exhaled into the sound system, performing the casualty flawlessly. All this commotion over a fragment of possession. I simply assumed my sibling cherished me sufficiently to desire to assist commence my matrimony off correctly. The assembly consumed it. Poor Sophia, dismissed by her frigid, egotistical sibling. But I observed something. Dad maintained verifying his phone too, his face developing paler with each survey. The live stream had ramifications he hadn't predicted. Your wedding is popular, by the way, I informed Sophia quietly. Congratulations. Standing there encompassed by criticism, a recollection emerged from 6 months earlier. Marcus had demanded on incorporating an unusual provision to my penthouse acquisition agreement. Believe me, he'd stated, examining the documents. You desire security against third-party interference, particularly pressure from household participants. I dismissed it then. My household was challenging, not hazardous. But Marcus, who'd constructed an empire from nothing, understood superior. If anyone attempts to compel you to transfer possession under duress, he'd clarified this provision activates. The corporation maintains privilege of primary rejection and can intervene to secure the asset and you. The penthouse had initially been a corporate possession transferred to me as portion of my remuneration bundle. The document sequence was flawless, the possession authentic, but that provision 15.3 I recalled, provided Hayes Capital legal position to intervene if someone attempted to compel me to relinquish it. It wasn't simply about possession regulation. It was about securing administrators from precisely this variety of manipulation. Marcus had observed too many accomplished women pressured into surrendering their assets to household participants who felt privileged to their achievement. Madison's always been obstinate. Dad was communicating to the assembly, attempting to rescue the circumstance. But household comes foremost. She understands that. Household doesn't ambush each other, I stated quietly. But my voice traveled. The space went quiet again. Even the service personnel had ceased moving, platters balanced in their palms, observing this disaster develop. I reflected on the documents positioned in Marcus' workplace vault. The ones that detailed not simply the penthouse possession, but the complete monetary structure of Hayes Capital. The ones that would be quite intriguing to my father if he understood his daughter was essentially his business associate's primary assistant. Thank goodness for that provision Marcus demanded on. Mom descended from the primary table like an avenging messenger, her decorated gown capturing the illumination as she rushed across the dance surface. She still gripped the sound system, her knuckles pale around it. Madison Hayes, her voice thundered through the speakers. You will not destroy this occasion. You will not humiliate this household. I'm not the one generating a scenario, Mother. We raised you superior than this. She was 3 feet distant now, proximate enough that I could observe the vessel pulsing in her temple. We provided you everything. You provided Sophia everything. I rectified. I acquired what I possess. You thankless. She captured herself, remembering the spectators. Then, with manufactured gentleness that deceived no one, sweetheart, simply present your sibling the keys. Such a minor thing. The statement suspended between us like a confrontation. Mom's face cycled through sentiments: disbelief, fury, humiliation. The complete ballroom grasped its respiration. You will execute this, she hissed, momentarily reducing the sound system, or so assist me. Or what? I questioned, genuinely inquisitive what intimidation she assumed would function. She elevated the sound system again. Everyone, my daughter appears to have disregarded what household signifies. Perhaps you can assist, remind her. The assembly stirred uncomfortably. Some individuals summoned support for Sophia, but others had gone quiet, detecting this had crossed a boundary. Present your sibling the keys. Mom's voice had descended to a hazardous murmur that the sound system still captured now. No, you egotistical, thankless girl. The statements burst from her. After everything we've executed, everything we've sacrificed, you can't execute this one thing. You're a humiliation to this household. She was proximate enough now that I could detect her fragrance. The identical stifling botanical aroma from my youth. Proximate enough to observe years of bitterness blazing in her gaze. The strike arrived without alert. Mom's palm contacted with my face with such intensity that my head jerked to the flank. The crack reverberated through the ballroom's flawless acoustics, magnified by the sound system she still grasped. My diamond jewelry, a present to myself after finalizing the Singapore arrangement, departed, curving through the atmosphere in what appeared like decelerated motion before striking the marble surface with a delicate chime. 200 attendees gasped in harmony. Then quietness, complete absolute quietness. The variety that makes your auditory organs ring. The variety that makes every cardiac beat sound like thunder. I remained flawlessly motionless, my face blazing, sensing the warmth expand across my countenance. The photographer's device had ceased clicking. The service personnel remained immobilized. Even the youngsters at table 15 had gone quiet. Mom's palm remained elevated in the atmosphere as if she couldn't quite accept what she'd executed. The sound system in her other palm picked up her irregular respiration. I could observe everything reflected in the mirrored barriers. My reddened face, Mom's astonished countenance, Dad half rising from his seat, Sophia with her palms pressed to her oral cavity in what might have been authentic astonishment. Brian's sibling had his phone elevated again, capturing everything. The jewelry lay on the pale marble, its diamonds capturing the chandelier illumination perhaps 10 feet distant. Such a minor object, but somehow it sensed like the most significant item in the space. I didn't shift, didn't communicate, didn't even bring my palm to my blazing face. I simply remained there, permitting the quietness express everything that required to be expressed. Gradually, intentionally, I proceeded to where my jewelry lay on the marble surface. My footwear clicked in the quietness, each stride reverberating through the ballroom. I inclined down, retrieved the jewelry and meticulously positioned it back on. The elementary action consumed maybe 30 seconds. Since like 30 years. I straightened, smoothed my garment and gazed directly at my mother. She'd reduced her palm but still gripped the sound system, her countenance a combination of defiance and emerging terror. Pardon me, I stated, my voice flawlessly unwavering. Then I rotated to the primary table. Congratulations, Sophia. I hope your matrimony delivers you contentment. I retrieved my purse from my table and proceeded toward the departure. Not accelerating, not sprinting, simply proceeding with the identical measured rhythm I utilized when departing board assemblies. Madison, Dad summoned. Madison, pause. I didn't cease, didn't rotate around. Behind me the ballroom burst into disorder. Voices ascending, seats scraping, someone weeping, but I maintained proceeding. The instant I cleared the ballroom entrances, I extracted my phone and contacted Marcus's number. He responded on the primary tone. Madison, authorization, I stated plainly. Comprehended. How much duration do I possess? Provide me 45 minutes to arrive residence. Are you acceptable? I contacted my still blazing face. Implement the contingency. Marcus, already assembling the legal squad. Madison, affirmative. Now I signified, are you injured? Nothing that won't recover, I stated, accessing the elevator. But Marcus, guarantee you transport the shareholder contract, the one Dad never actually examined. With satisfaction, I terminated the communication as the elevator entrances sealed, abandoning my household's disorder behind. That instant, the strike detected by 200 individuals. Did it make your circulation boil? I comprehend what it's like to be humiliated by the individuals who should secure you. But sometimes the optimal reaction isn't fury, it's strategic operation. What arrives next will demonstrate you why you should never undervalue someone you've pressured too distant. If you accept standing up for yourself, press that appreciation button. If you've ever had to establish a firm boundary with household, type boundaries in the remarks. The subsequent portion is where everything transforms, where the invisible daughter becomes the one grasping all the advantages. 45 minutes afterward, I was in my penthouse, frozen pack against my face, when my phone vibrated with a message from Marcus. Accessing the structure now. I transformed into denim and a gentle sweater. Protection wasn't required anymore. The conflict was already conquered. They simply didn't comprehend it yet. My phone illuminated with alerts. Brian's siblings' livestream had been distributed over 500 occasions. The strike was already a GIF. But I didn't concern about internet recognition. I concerned about what was transpiring in that ballroom currently. Marcus messaged again. Proceeding in, Richard just observed me. I could visualize it flawlessly. Marcus Chin in his $10,000 Armani garment proceeding into that ballroom with his signature assurance. 2 attorneys flanking him, cases in palm. The identical Marcus Chin whose designation materialized in Forbes. The identical one my father had been frantically attempting to arrange a gathering with for 6 months. Another message. His countenance just transformed pale. Then your mother is shrieking. I proceeded to my surface to ceiling glass, gazing out at the city illuminations. Somewhere down there in that elegant ballroom, my household was acquiring a lesson about ramifications. My phone rang. Unidentified number. Greetings, Madison. It was Brian's sibling murmuring. You required to observe this. Your dad appears like he's about to collapse. This Asian gentleman in a garment just stated your designation and something about collaboration contracts. Your mom literally shrieked when she observed him. Who is this gentleman? Someone who accepts protecting his ventures, I stated. Your dad maintained stating Mr. Chin repeatedly. Is this the Chin? The one who possesses. I must depart, I stated, terminating the communication. The city sparkled below, tranquil and oblivious. But in that ballroom an empire was transforming. My phone rang again. This occasion it was Marcus. You're on speaker, he stated. I'm present with your parents and their attendees. I could detect the ballroom's astonished quietness in the background. Richard, Marcus's voice transported that CEO authority that made board participants squirm. I require to illuminate something for everyone present. Madison Hayes is not simply some employee at my corporation. She's our Vice President of Development administering our complete Asia-Pacific growth. I detected collective gasps through the phone. That's unattainable, my father's voice feeble and bewildered. The Singapore arrangement that generated us 40 million. Madison directed that. The Tokyo workplace that's now our most profitable division. Madison constructed that from the foundation upward. The collaboration with Samsung that your corporation frantically desired a fragment of. Madison negotiated every component. You're fabricating, mom's voice piercing and frantic. Mrs. Hayes, your daughter is one of the most precious administrators in this city. The penthouse you attempted to seize, it was portion of her administrator remuneration bundle. A bundle that I should reference includes certain securities. What securities? Dad questioned. The ones that activate when someone endeavors to pressure her into relinquishing corporate assets, which according to the live stream that's now been observed 20,000 occasions is precisely what transpired here tonight. 20,000 in less than an hour. Furthermore, Marcus persisted, as someone who possesses 40% of your corporation, Richard, I'm profoundly troubled about the judgment you've exhibited tonight. Publicly endeavoring to steal from your own daughter, permitting your spouse to attack her. This elevates serious inquiries about your leadership. You can't. This is household matter, Dad sputtered. The instant you made it public, you made it my matter. Madison, are you still there? I'm present, I stated clearly. Would you prefer to file accusations for attack? The ballroom grasped its respiration. Let me illuminate something, Marcus' voice persisted through the speaker. That live stream demonstrates clear attack and attempted pressure. This activates provision 15.3 of our shareholder contract. Richard, the one about moral depravity and conduct inappropriate of leadership. What are you discussing? Dad's voice fractured. Page 47 of the contract you endorsed 5 years earlier. I can summon an emergency board gathering within 24 hours. Given that I manage 40% and the Jensen Trust manages another 15%, they're quite intrigued in this circumstance, by the way. You execute the arithmetic. I could detect documents rustling. Marcus was positioning out papers on the primary table. This is blackmail, Mom shrieked. No, Mrs. Hayes. Blackmail was demanding your daughter's possession in front of 200 observers. This is ramification administration. Madison, Dad's voice arrived through, pleading now. Inform him to cease. This is advancing too distant. Too distant? I finally communicated. Like striking your daughter at a wedding wasn't too distant. You can't destroy our household enterprise over this. I'm not destroying anything, I stated calmly. I'm securing my assets and my respect. Marcus is securing his venture. If your conduct threatens that venture, that's on you. The recording is everywhere, someone murmured in the background. It's on Twitter, Facebook. The regional news retrieved it. Here's what's going to transpire, Marcus declared. Richard, you possess 48 hours to issue a public apology to Madison. A genuine one, not some PR nonsense. You'll recognize her professional accomplishments and her privilege to her own possession. Carol, you'll execute the identical and you'll remain distant from Madison permanently. Or what? Mom demanded. Or I implement my alternatives as a significant shareholder. Your corporation requires my capital for the growth project. Without it, you're examining bankruptcy within 6 months. This is my daughter's wedding, Mom's voice had achieved hysteria. You can't execute this present. You're correct, Marcus stated smoothly. This isn't the duration or location, which is why I'm providing you 48 hours to make this correct. Madison's penthouse remains hers, untouched, uncontested. Any endeavor to manipulate, guilt, or pressure her will result in immediate legal operation. She's our daughter, Dad protested. Then treat her like one, Marcus fired back. Not like an ATM or a resource to be plundered for your favorite offspring. I detected Sophia sobbing dramatically. This is supposed to be my extraordinary occasion. Still is, Marcus answered. I'm departing now. But these papers remain with you, Richard. Examine them, comprehend them, and recall Madison isn't isolated. She possesses the complete weight of Hayes Capital behind her. Madison, Sophia's voice arrived through, trembling with moisture. How could you execute this to me? I didn't execute anything to you, Sophia. I simply declined to present you my residence. Everything else, the public declaration, the tension, the strike, that was Mom and Dad's selection. But the penthouse is mine, acquired with my finances, obtained through my occupation. If you desire a penthouse, I suggest you obtain one. You're so brutal. No, I'm simply completed being your household sacrifice. I detected movement, seats scraping, individuals murmuring, then Marcus's voice, nearer to the phone now. Madison, the documents are delivered. Your parents comprehend their alternatives. The sphere is in their territory. Thank you, Marcus. I'm apologetic it arrived to this. So am I. The wedding photographer retrieved everything, by the way. He's already transmitted us the high-resolution captures just in case we require them for legal objectives. Dad's moan was detectable through the phone. 48 hours, Richard, Marcus stated one conclusive occasion. Public apology or I summon the board. Madison, I'll observe you Monday. The connection terminated. I remained in my penthouse, gazing out at the city, finally capable to respire. My face still ached, but something else had elevated. 32 years of burden I hadn't comprehended I'd been transporting. Within 2 hours my phone was bursting with messages. The recording had advanced beyond viral. It was ubiquitous. Entitled Parents Demand Daughter's $2 million Penthouse at Wedding was popular on 3 platforms. Sophia contacted 15 occasions. I didn't respond. Mom messaged, "You've destroyed everything. Your sister's wedding is demolished. Attendees are departing. Are you content now?" Dad's message was distinct. "We require to communicate, please." But the most intriguing messages arrived from unexpected origins. 3 of Dad's largest clients had observed the recording. "Richard, I'm troubled about what I just observed. We require to address our contract." Jim Patterson, Patterson Industries. "This is profoundly disturbing conduct. My spouse is demanding we reconsider our collaboration." David Kim, Kim Electronics. "I don't execute business with individuals who strike their offspring. Contract terminated." Sarah Williams, Williams Logistics. "That final one was a $3 million annual contract. Vanished." Brian's household cluster chat, which I'd been incorporated to months earlier, was in disorder. His mother were departing. "This is disgraceful." His father, "The wedding is cancelled until we comprehend what variety of household we're joining." The wedding was collapsing apart and I wasn't even present. Marcus messaged privately. "Your father just contacted. He's panicking about the clients. 3 more have communicated with concerns." Then the most gratifying message of all from someone who documented everything. "Your mom collapsed when she comprehended the CEO of Hayes Capital was your supervisor." Like literally collapsed. They had to summon paramedics. I distributed myself a glass of wine from the bottle I'd been preserving for an extraordinary occasion. If standing up for myself wasn't extraordinary, what was? My assistant messaged, "Boss, you're popular. Also, 5 recruiters have already contacted questioning if you're seeking new opportunities." Evidently, standing up to toxic household is quite fashionable currently. I chuckled, literally chuckled, for the primary occasion in days. By Monday morning, the business community had selected flanks, and it wasn't even proximate. The recording had been distributed in every significant business network in the city. The narrative was transparent. Accomplished daughter declines to be intimidated by entitled parents. CEO intervenes to secure precious administrator from household exploitation. Dad's corporation lost 6 contracts in total. The growth he'd been organizing for 2 years was deceased in the liquid. Without Marcus capital and with the client departure he'd have to reduce. Sophia's honeymoon to Bali was terminated. Not by her, by Brian's household. They desired to re-evaluate the relationship dynamics before advancing forward. The wedding presents were being returned, but the most unanticipated ramification arrived from my own corporation. Marcus contacted me into his workplace Monday afternoon. "The board desires to promote you," he stated without introduction. "Senior VP of Global Operations, the Asia-Pacific achievement, combined with how you managed the circumstance, they're impressed." I got struck at a wedding. That impressed them. "You maintained your position against enormous social tension. You secured corporation assets. You preserved composure under extreme duress. That's precisely the variety of leadership we require. And the reality that you had to intervene demonstrates you comprehend when to utilize your resources." Madison, "I've observed numerous administrators collapse under household tension. You didn't simply maintain firm, you conquered." The promotion arrived with a 40% elevation in equity alternatives, sufficient to acquire another penthouse if I desired. Not that I required another one. The one I possessed was flawless, a representation of everything I'd accomplished without my household's assistance or validation. I contributed the elevation bonus to a women's refuge that assisted abuse casualties depart toxic circumstances. Sounds like the correct thing to execute. Dad's public apology arrived precisely 47 hours after Marcus' ultimatum. It was rigid, clearly composed by attorneys, but it executed the task. I apologized to my daughter Madison for my unsuitable conduct at the recent household occasion. I recognize her professional accomplishments and her privilege to her own possession. This matter is now sealed. Mom declined to apologize. She initiated a social media tirade instead, summoning me thankless, egotistical, and corrupted by corporate culture. The tirade was captured and distributed thousands of occasions, typically with remarks like "I observe where the difficulty commenced" and "narcissistic mother detected." Sophia messaged me a week afterward. "You destroyed my existence. Brian's household is requiring us to attend counseling before they'll consent to the matrimony. They assume my household is toxic." "They're not incorrect," I answered. "I despise you. I comprehend." The extended household divided into factions. Some aligned with my parents, stating household should arrive foremost. Others communicated privately, distributing their own narratives of being the scapegoat, the ATM, the one who was never adequate. Cousin Derek messaged, "I'm apologetic for what I stated. I didn't comprehend they treated you like that all the duration. Aunt Patricia, your mother is my sibling, but she was incorrect. I'm proud of you for standing up." But the most astonishing message arrived from Brian. "I didn't comprehend about the Penthouse ambush. I would have ceased it. Sophia requires to mature, and perhaps this is the awakening summons she requires. I'm apologetic about your mom striking you. That was attack, plain and elementary. At minimum, someone in that household possessed sense. I transformed the locks on my penthouse the subsequent day. Structure security was provided, a catalog of individuals who were permanently prohibited from the possession. My parents' designations were at the summit. The doorman, James, who'd known me for 3 years, extracted me aside. "Miss Hayes, I observed the recording. Excellent for you. My daughter experienced something comparable. Household isn't always household, you comprehend." I comprehended. I obstructed my immediate household on all social media platforms. No theatrical declaration, no clarification, just quiet elimination of their access to my existence. My occupation became my concentration. The promotion signified administering squads across 12 nations. I threw myself into it, constructing something meaningful without the burden of household anticipations. Marcus became more than a supervisor. He became the advisor my father never was. "You comprehend," he stated over coffee one morning, "the optimal revenge is an existence well resided without them." 3 months afterward, I received a message from an unidentified number. It was a photograph of Sophia's wedding present, the one I transmitted after everything calmed down. A certificate for 6 months of household therapy sessions. "This is offensive," the message examined. "It's necessary," I answered, then obstructed that number too. My penthouse became what it was always signified to be, a refuge, a location where no one could demand, diminish, or reduce me. The surface-to-ceiling glass that gazed out over the city reminded me daily that I'd constructed something they couldn't seize away. Not for absence of attempting, though. 6 months afterward, the dust had resolved into a novel reality. I was prospering. The senior VP position had directed to a feature in Forbes 40 Under 40. The article referenced nothing about the wedding incident, concentrating instead on my innovative approaches to Asian market growth. Dad's corporation had stabilized but never recovered its previous standing. He'd aged 10 years in 6 months. Through mutual business associations, I detected he'd commenced therapy. Too minimal, too delayed, but at minimum it was something. Mom intensified her casualty narrative, informing anyone who'd pay attention about her thankless daughter who selected finances over household. Most individuals had observed the recording. They comprehended superior. Sophia's matrimony to Brian endured precisely 4 months. The counseling had exposed deeper difficulties. Entitlement, incapability to accept responsibility, anticipating others to provide for her. Brian's household had been correct to be troubled. The separation was quiet but conclusive. She messaged me once. "I hope you're content. You received what you desired." "I received what I acquired," I answered. "There's a distinction. The household I discovered at Hayes Capital became my genuine household. We celebrated victories together, supported each other through challenges, and never once did anyone demand I sacrifice my achievement for their comfort." Marcus and his spouse invited me to their household dinners. His daughters, both in university, gazed up to me. "You're evidence we don't have to reduce ourselves for anyone," the older one stated. That was worth more than any validation my birth household could have provided. So here's what I acquired from that catastrophe of a wedding. Blood doesn't render you household. Regard does. Achievement isn't something you possess to individuals who never supported your journey. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can express to toxic household is nothing at all. My penthouse remains mine. Every morning I observe the sunrise through those surface-to-ceiling glass, coffee in palm, grateful for the tranquility I battled to secure. It's not simply possession. It's evidence that I selected myself when everyone anticipated me to select them. If you're struggling with household who demand more than they provide, who seize credit for achievements they didn't support, who anticipate you to ignite yourself on fire to maintain them warm, comprehend this. Your boundaries matter. Your achievement is yours. Your tranquility is worth more than their validation. You don't possess your hard-acquired accomplishments simply because you distribute DNA. You don't have to accept disrespect in the designation of household harmony. And you certainly don't have to tolerate abuse, whether it's physical like that strike or emotional like years of being treated as less than. The price of my freedom was elevated. I lost my birth household, but what I acquired was worth it. Self-respect, genuine relationships, and an existence constructed on my terms. Your narrative might be distinct, but the principle remains. You deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated. Select individuals who select you. Not simply when they require something, but always. What boundaries do you require to establish today? Thank you for paying attention to my narrative. If you've ever had to select between household validation and self-respect, you're not isolated. Comment boundaries matter if you accept protecting yourself from toxic household dynamics. Distribute this narrative with someone who requires to detect that it's acceptable to select yourself. Subscribe and activate the notification alert for additional narratives about establishing appropriate boundaries and creating selected households. I'd appreciate knowing, are you Team Madison for maintaining my position, or do you believe household should perpetually arrive foremost? Inform me in the remarks. Recall, your tranquility is non-negotiable.